We are here at the unveil of the Tata Motors Curvv Concept. This is an SUV that will sit in between the Nexon and the Harrier in the Tata Motors SUV range, but there's a difference. This has a sloping roof and that makes it a coupe-like SUV. Tata Motors has said that they may have a full SUV design as well in addition to the Curvv Concept. One doesn't know what name it will take when it goes into production. Let's take a look at all the features and details of this exciting new mid-sized SUV coupe from Tata Motors.
So for the front, we really wanted to communicate that it's an EV. So a lot of the language in terms of, there's less cooling requirements, so that creates a much more cleaner face. But also this sort of, layered aspect of the front end creates, it's an aerodynamic function, but then it actually highlights, which is the horizontal light guide, which is the DRL. So the DRL is no longer just a light source, but it becomes the brand signature. So whether you're driving at the day or in the night, you will immediately know that this is a Tata Motors EV vehicle. So it goes without saying that for the ICE version, we will require more cooling. So that'll obviously open up a number of apertures in terms of where the radiator position is. And then at the same time, we're creating a sort of unique, distinct, Tata Motors EV and Tata Motors ICE face. Obviously, they're siblings in the same showroom, for lack of a better word, but ultimately they will clearly communicate the powertrain. We've created a coupe on an SUV platform. And the real challenge was actually achieving this coupe silhouette and this feeling of sportiness and speed, but at the same time on a package which is 4.3 meters. So the real challenge was maintaining the ingress egress, the head clearance for the rear passenger, and the overall cabin space in the rear, but make sure that the exterior has this sporty feel. So one of the elements that we really worked on was obviously we developed these lines many times and refining it, but we also recommended that we push the wheel back. So we adjusted actually the platform only for the basis of the overall proportions and the functionality. And then in terms of the door handles, our plan is actually to introduce a flush door handle system into the production car. That goes with the aerodynamic efficiency. As you can imagine, a conventional door handle not only looks analog and not digital, doesn't really correlate with an EV, but actually is more aerodynamically efficient. Yes, the wheels are, much flatter. There was a trend to make them as deep dish and, as light as possible. But, again, we're communicating an aero feel. So it's a very flat dish, but we didn't want it to look like a hubcap. So we took a lot of attention to detail to make it as visually interesting and efficient as possible. Yeah, so again, we wanted to maintain, this coupe feel, silhouette, and at the same time, you maintain a certain degree of loading capacity. So of course, we're always looking at form and function together. At the same time, the DRL, the light guide, will become a mainstay of most of our products going forward. That makes the car look wider. And again, we wanted to create this, feeling that it's really well proportioned and balanced, and of course, aerodynamic at the same time. Both DRL, the one at the top and the one at the bottom, both are being developed, in terms of, there has to be an upper lower. It actually, again, creates a very dynamic signature at night. Yeah, so the first thing was obviously we wanted to communicate an EV product. So obviously that's sort of agility, but again, a very high-tech design. So as you mentioned, no center console connection with the instrument panel. That sort of feeling of space, I think is very much, communicating something that's electric. At the same time, we said digital design, but what does that actually mean? So the steering wheel, the HVAC unit, and the TFT's preview every product that we're going to introduce from now on will have, this recipe. So this is actually our next generation steering wheel, which will have the logo illuminate when you turn it on. All of the switchgear is, now just a touch on a piano black surface. The same with all of the climate control switches. We'll be working on that aspect. Of course, the TFTs are configurable based on the trim level that you will select. And in terms of the overall feeling, we wanted a feeling of width and something that's very precise. So again, that sort of fluting and the attention to detail that you see on the exterior is communicated on the interior. And finally, I think, which is one of the most interesting aspects of the interior, is the material. So we are going to add a bit of fabric on the instrument panel, and as you can see, even on the seats. So we're looking at developing sustainable materials which communicate, obviously, an ethos and a value system that all of our EVs going forward will be part of. And I think finally, which is an interesting thing, is we're going to be introducing a open roof. So sitting in here, there's not a feeling of claustrophobia. It's really quite an open, airy cockpit. There's not this feeling of you're encased somewhere and it's dark. So all the materials and this roof obviously make a huge difference in terms of the feeling of sportiness and openness. So when we introduce the ICE version, our plan is to have the same instrument panel, same steering wheel and screens and all that, but we will have a different center console with obviously a gear shift, so a classic powertrain interface. And also I would add, unique color and materials and fabrics.
The production version of the Curvv Concept will arrive first as an electric vehicle in about 2 years' time and will be followed by internal combustion engine variants featuring probably both a diesel as well as a petrol powertrain. There is no chance of a hybrid powertrain, and that has been made very clear by the Tata Motors top management. Being a Gen 2 EV from Tata Motors, it will come with a range of over 400 kilometers. The internal combustion engine variants of the Curvv will be direct rivals to the likes of the Hyundai Creta and the Kia Seltos. And that is also very clear given the 4.3 meter length of the Curvv Concept, that is exactly the same as that of the Creta. Tata Motors currently has no presence in this segment, and this will boost its SUV lineup and will be an option between the Nexon and the Harrier.